Good morning, spiritual companions. We are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Chapter 8, God Intoxicated State. Friday, September 19th, 1884. It was Mahalaya, a sacred day of the Hindus, and the day of the new moon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room with Mahendra Mukherjee, Priya Mukherjee, M., Baburam, Harish, Kishori, and Latu. Some were sitting on the floor, some standing, others moving about. Hazra was sitting on the porch. Rakal was at Vrindavan with Balaram. Master, to Mahendra Mukherjee and the others. I shall feel very happy to know that you are being benefited by your visits here. To M. Why do people come here? I don't know much of reading and writing. M. God's power is in you. That is why there is such attraction. It is the divine spirit that attracts. Master. By no means all people are attracted to God. There are special souls who feel so. To love God, one must be born with good tendencies. Otherwise, why should you alone of all the people of Bagadzar come here? You can't expect anything good in a dunghill. To the Mukherjee brothers, you are well off. If a man slips from the path of yoga, then he is reborn in a prosperous family and starts again his spiritual practice for the realization of God. Mahendra, why does one slip from the path of yoga? Master, while thinking of God, the aspirant may feel a craving for material enjoyment. It is this craving that makes him slip from the path. In his next life, he will be born with the spiritual tendencies that he failed to translate into action in his present life. Mahendra, then what is the way? Master, no salvation is possible for a man as long as he has desire, as long as he hankers for worldly things. It is not good to cherish desires and hankerings. For that reason, I used to fulfill whatever desires came to my mind. Once I saw some colored sweetmeats at Burra Bazaar and wanted to eat them. They brought me the sweets and I ate a great many. The result was that I fell ill. In my boyhood days, while bathing in the Ganges, I saw a boy with a gold ornament around his waist. During my state of divine intoxication, I felt a desire to have a similar ornament myself. I was given one, but I couldn't keep it on very long. When I put it on, I felt within my body the painful uprush of a current of air. It was because I had touched gold to my skin. I wore the ornament a few moments and then had to put it aside. Otherwise, I should have had to tear it off. At that time, many holy men used to visit the temple garden. A desire arose in my mind then that there should be a separate storeroom to supply them with their provisions. Mathur Babu arranged for one. The sadhus were given foodstuffs, fuel, and the like from that storeroom. Once the idea came to me to put on a very expensive robe, embroidered with gold, and to smoke a silver hubble bubble. Mathur Babu sent me the new robe and the hubble bubble. I put on the robe. I also smoked the hubble bubble in various fashions. Sometimes I smoked reclining this way and sometimes that way, sometimes with head up and sometimes with head down. Then I said to myself, "O mind, this is what they call smoking a silver hubble bubble." Immediately I renounced it. I kept the robe on my body a few minutes longer and then took it off. I began to trample it underfoot and spit on it, saying, "So this is an expensive robe, but it only increases a man's rajas." Rakal had been staying at Vrindavan with Balaram. At first he had written excited letters praising the holy place. He had written to M, "It is the best of all places. Please come here. The peacocks dance around, and one always hears and sees religious music and dancing. There is an unending flow of divine bliss." But then Rakal had been laid up with an attack of fever. Sri Ramakrishna was very much worried about him and vowed to worship the Divine Mother for his recovery. He began to talk about Rakal. "Master, Rakal had his first religious ecstasy while sitting here massaging my feet. A Bhagavata scholar had been expounding the sacred book in the room. As Rakal listened to his words, he shuddered every now and then. Then he became altogether still. His second ecstasy was at Balaram Bose's house. In that state, he could not keep himself sitting upright. He lay flat on the floor. Rakal belongs to the realm of the personal God. He leaves the place if one talks about the impersonal. I have taken a vow to worship the Divine Mother when he recovers. You see, he has renounced his home and relatives and completely surrendered himself to me. It was I who sent him to his wife now and then. He still had a little desire of enjoyment." Pointing to M, "Rakal has written him from Vrindavan. Now it is a grand place. The peacocks dance around. Now let the peacocks take care of him. He has really put me in a fix. Why am I so fond of the youngsters? They are still untouched by woman and gold. I find that they belong to the class of the ever-perfect. When Narendra first came here, he was dressed in dirty clothes, but his eyes and face betokened some inner stuff. At that time, he did not know many songs. He sang one or two. Let us go back once more, O mind, to our own abode. And, O Lord, must all my days be spent utterly in vain? Whenever he came here, I would talk only with him, though the room was filled with people. He would say to me, "Please talk to them," and then I would talk with the others. I became mad for the sight of him and wept for him in Jadu Malik's garden house. I wept here too, holding Bolanath's hand. Bolanath said, "Sir, you shouldn't behave that way for a mere Kayastha boy." One day, the fat Brahmin, which is a nickname for Pran Krishna, a devotee of the Master, said to me about Narendra with folded hands, "Sir, he has very little education. Why should you be so restless for him? Can you tell me why all these youngsters, and you people too, visit me? There must be something in me, or why should you all feel such a pull, such attraction?" Once I visited Hariday's house at Silor. From there I was taken to Siam Bazar. For 7 days and nights I was surrounded by a huge crowd of people. Such attraction. Nothing but kirtan and dancing day and night. People stood in rows on the walls and were even in the trees. The rumor spread everywhere that a man had arrived who died 7 times and came back to life again. They are referring to the Master's Samadhi. Hariday would drag me away from the crowd to a paddy field for fear I might have an attack of heat apoplexy. The crowd would follow us there like a line of ants. Hariday scolded them and said, "Why do you bother us like this? Have we never heard kirtan?" People came thronging from distant villages. They even spent the night there. At Siam Bazar, I learned the meaning of divine attraction. When God incarnates himself on earth, he attracts people through the help of Yogamaya, his divine power. People become spellbound. Sri Ramakrishna talked to the Mukherjee brothers. Mahendra, the elder, had his own business. Priyanath, the younger, had been an engineer. After making some provision for himself, he had given up his job. Mahendra was 35 or 36 years old. The brothers had homes both in the country and in Calcutta. Master, smiling, don't sit idle simply because your spiritual consciousness has been awakened a little. Go forward. Beyond the forest of sandalwood, there are other and more valuable things. Silver mines, gold mines, and so on. Priya, smiling, said, Sir, our legs are in chains. We cannot go forward. Master, what if the legs are chained? The important thing is the mind. Bondage is of the mind, and freedom also is of the mind. Priya, but the mind is not under my control. Master, how is that? There is such a thing as abhyasa yoga, yoga through practice. Keep up the practice, and you will find that your mind will follow in whatever direction you lead it. It was dusk. They heard the sound of gongs, cymbals, and other instruments used in the evening service in the temples. The master said to Baburam, Come with me to the Kali temple. He and Baburam went toward the temple, accompanied by M. At the sight of Harish sitting on the porch, the master said, What is this? Is he in ecstasy? Going through the courtyard, the master and the devotees stopped a minute in front of the Radhakanta temple to watch the worship. Then they proceeded to the shrine of Kali. With folded hands, the master prayed to the Divine Mother. O Mother, O Divine Mother, O Brahmayani. Reaching the cement platform in front of the shrine, he bowed low before the image. The arati was going on. He entered the shrine and fanned the image. The evening worship was over. The devotees bowed before the deity. It was the night of the new moon. The master was in a spiritual mood. Gradually, his mood deepened into intense ecstasy. He returned to his room, reeling like a drunkard and holding to Baburam's hand. A lamp was lighted on the west porch. The master sat there a few minutes, chanting, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, and the other mystic syllables of the Tantra. Presently he returned to his room and sat on the small couch facing the east. He was still completely absorbed in divine fervor. He said to the Divine Mother, Mother, that I should first speak and you then act. Oh, that's nonsense. What is the meaning of talk? It is nothing but a sign. One man says, I shall eat. Again, another says, No, I won't hear of it. Well, Mother, suppose I had said I would not eat. Wouldn't I still feel hungry? Is it ever possible that you should listen only when one prays aloud and not when one feels an inner longing? You are what you are. Then why do I speak? Why do I pray? I do as you make me do. Oh, what confusion! Why do you make me reason? As Sri Ramakrishna was thus talking to God, the devotees listened wonderstruck to his words. The master's eye fell upon them. Master, to the devotees, one must inherit good tendencies to realize God. One must have done something, some form of tapasya, either in this life or in another. Hazra entered the room. He had been living with Sri Ramakrishna in the temple garden for the past 2 years and had first met the master in 1880 at Sihor in the house of Hriday, the master's nephew. Hazra's native village was near Sihor, and he owned some property there. He had a wife and children and also some debts. From youth he had felt a spirit of renunciation and sought the company of holy men and devotees. The master had asked him to live with him at Dakshineswar and look after his necessities. Hazra's mind was a jumble of undigested religious moods. He professed the path of knowledge and disapproved of Sri Ramakrishna's attitude of bhakti and his longing for the young devotees. Now and then he thought of the master as a great soul, but again he slighted him as an ordinary human being. He spent much of his time in telling his beads, and he criticized Rakal and the other young men for their indifference to the practice. He was a strong advocate of religious conventions and rules of conduct, and made a fad of them. He was about 38 years old. As Hazra came in, the master became a little abstracted, and in that mood began to talk. Master, to Hazra, what you are doing is right in principle, but the application is not quite correct. Don't find fault with anyone, not even an insect. As you pray to God for devotion, so also pray that you may not find fault with anyone. Hazra, does God listen to our prayer for bhakti? Master, surely, I can assure you of that 100 times. But the prayer must be genuine and earnest. Do worldly-minded people weep for God as they do for wife and children? The wife of a certain man fell ill. He thought she would not recover. He began to tremble and was about to faint. Who feels that way for God? End of today's reading.